evening, all or most of all. I'd like to call this meeting of the Fire Chief Search Committee to order. Several pieces of business, but let's jump around the agenda here and discuss the minutes from April 11th. Any comments or corrections? I have two.
Give me a second, let me open them so I can edit on the fly.
I thought we were putting the number of surveys received as of 8/11 into the minutes. Do we have that number, Darb?
I don't have that number.
It was 14.
14, thank you.
Surveys?
Yes.
Yeah, if we can put,
Yeah, I'm gonna just put it right after the badge quest review surveys.
and where, hi, Bob.
Hi.
Oh, Darb looks like Bob. What a night. Is it Halloween and I don't know?
Oh,
So we have 9. Who are the ones, if Evan can answer this, because I don't see it anywhere else. Who are the ones that are not included in the round that,
No, we're not. So you're in open session. So
Yeah.
we're not going to talk
Oh.
about the candidates' names. We're here to talk about process and
okay, sorry, you're right.
generic numbers.
all right, so
Absolutely correct.
I updated the survey, so we have 14 of the surveys completed. So those meeting minutes are adjusted.
Okay,
I motion to accept the meeting minutes for
Second.
8/11.
Second.
okay. We need a motion to go into executive session.
Second,
Okay,
Do we need to vote on the meeting minutes?
Yeah, we didn't finish the meeting minute vote.
oh, okay.
You had a
Sorry.
motion made and seconded.
For discussion,
Any
All right.
discussion?
Evan, minutes,
No, aye.
aye,
Mike,
Aye.
Chief,
aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Ms. DeFazio,
Aye.
and our clerk, Darab,
aye.
and I'm I. So unanimous acceptance of the August 11th minutes. Now we can go into executive session.
I'd for Darby motion to move the board meeting to exit open session and return into executive session.
Second.
Okay. Vote of the board?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yep.
Do we have on our agenda that we're going to be going into executive session tonight? And what is the reason that we're going into executive session?
We do not have it listed on the agenda, but anytime we discuss any materials from Badge Quest, I think we can safely assume.
No,
That
so I would think if I could let the committee know here, I don't think we need to go into executive session. So we're talking about next steps per the agenda, and timelines and the generic, numbers of candidates. I don't think we need to go any deeper than that. for
I
the
suggest
purposes-
we go into executive session just in case somebody slips up or something is said.
Right, but that's not how it works because we didn't post for an executive session because that wasn't the purpose of the meeting as I saw it.
Well,
So,
So is the agenda your agenda or Lydia's agenda? Because it is how you see it or how we saw it as a board.
I gotta be honest with you, it doesn't matter because it's not posted as executive.
I
session.
understand. I'm asking for future clarification though.
Oh, I don't know. Lydia is the chair, so she.
we
put the
haven't,
stuff on, And then she sent it out to the board and said, do you have any input?
Okay, so now I know for future. That's all I was asking.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody responded to her.
And we-
So Lydia,
Yes.
from here on out, on the agenda, can we just always put on
yep,
the possibility of executive session?
we
And that
will.
way it covers
certainly
us
do.
just in case.
Yes, Are we, Evan, are we prohibited from going into executive session tonight?
I would say yes.
Yes, because it's not on the agenda.
Okay, then.
I know you asked Evan, but I agree.
Rather than prolonging the pain of this particular issue, I would welcome a motion to meet again next Wednesday at the
so-
same time and go into executive session. We are wasting an enormous amount of time that
So,
we don't
Lydia-
have.
I second that.
okay, so I would ask the Lydia and Darab here. What are, if you read the agenda, what's our timeline through September? What's the testing center details from Badge Quest? And what correspondence have we received from Badge Quest? Because that's what's on the agenda, all of which we had prepared to discuss this evening, so that we know what we're doing. I thought that
Alright.
was the
We
purpose
can
of the
still
meeting.
discuss that and then meet again and discuss the candidates in more detail and all the next steps in greater detail.
So
Right, I think that would be the
Do you
The
have a
next
problem with
meeting.
that or some
no,
plans for next week or something?
Madam Chair, may I respond to that?
go
I
ahead.
think the purpose of this meeting, which is my understanding based on the agenda tonight, is that we're going to talk about where we are in the timeline, answer the logistics of these details, go over the correspondence from Badge Quest, and if we need to meet next week to go into executive session to talk in more detail about resumes, we can do that. But that's not the purpose of this meeting.
All
So,
righty.
Arab, as I see it, that if we want to meet again next week, I think that's great. We may
I
have
think-
to.
I think we
But-
should continue to hold that and then
Yeah,
meet next week to talk about all the step 2 information that we received.
yep, I
But now-
agree.
I think that's important stuff that we need to discuss, but I don't think, again, we can discuss that in open session.
And
Right.
plus too, we just got everything loaded onto the drive too. So
Yeah, yesterday, so you need.
everybody needs a little
24 hours.
time to digest it, make notes and so
Correct.
on. I don't
Exactly.
think we're in any
Chief?
situation to discuss anything of that tonight.
Chair
Yeah.
recognizes Chief Crapo.
Before we do anything else, why don't we just follow the agenda right now? Correspondence from Badge Quest. Is there any correspondence?
Yeah, so I had put that up into the drive, and really it relates to what
Yes.
Doreen was looking for information. And I also had a conversation today with Mr. Pomeroy about process, timeline, and what the committee should be doing from here.
Is
Um,
that some information you can share with us now, Evan?
Yes, that's what I had prepared to do.
Because I think this, I don't know if you wrote this assessment centerpiece or Mr. Pomeroy did, but it seems to be lacking a great deal of information. I would certainly have liked to have the link for this International Task Force on Assessment Center guidelines, whatever that is. And what does it mean that we're welcome to attend and observe the assessment center? If more than 2 of us did that, we would have to post it as a meeting. And where physically is the center?
Right, so I'm going to tell you all of that if we can get to that point.
Please do.
Okay, so as you know, we started with 24 candidates. We at our last meeting discussed moving 11 candidates to step 2. 9 of those candidates have chosen to move forward as of the timeline. So the next piece that this committee is going to have to decide is whether it wants to reconvene and review resumes again, or whether it wants to hold interviews with the 9 candidates to reduce that number from 9 to 5, and then send those 5 through the assessment center. So that's, I think, the first step that the group needs to figure out what it wants to do. If it feels that with 9 candidates, we can do 30-minute Zoom interviews and narrow that down to 5, or if we want to try to vet them out before we've interviewed people so that we have less to interview.
I wasn't under the impression that we were going to interview anybody until after the testing center.
No, so that's step 3. So we're in step 2. This is when we have to narrow it down to pick our top 5 to go through to the
Okay,
assessment
So
center.
I think we can continue our discussion tonight. What we should do is for next Wednesday, convene, go into executive session, discuss all 9 candidates, and pare it down to 5. I think you can do 30-minute interviews, and I think some of them are gonna be easy yeses and nos.
Right, so here's the only concern I have with that, Darab, is if we pare it down to 5 for the interviews, what
Mhm.
happens if we don't like 2 of them? Are we only gonna send 3 people through the assessment center? Or do we wanna try to,
I don't think that's much of a problem, but if you still want to keep that wide net approach, that's fine. We can interview all 9.
no,
What's
I'm not,
more
I'm not,
else?
I'm, okay.
I'm just saying, so we can do all
Why
9.
don't we get a
But
consensus on 9 or 5?
Right.
I mean, I went through them. I didn't know what, I was worried that we were gonna deviate from the agenda, but I did go through them. I mean, I don't have a problem going through all 9. If we do 30 minutes, I can't see it hurting. There's a lot of qualified candidates there, so.
I too think we could do all 9 with 30-minute interviews and get a good spectrum, and then if we cull, some of them out, at least we're getting to 5 candidates to go through the assessment center.
So when do you think we could do the interviews?
We would just have to come up with a date, time specific, and then line them up.
All right, so my suggestion is we try to set the interviews for end of next week. So I think beginning of next week would be too early, maybe.
Right.
Do we have a list of questions that we want to ask them all, standard questions throughout?
We can certainly, I was assuming that we were gonna talk about process, come up with a timeline, meet, talk about minutes, and then set up the interviews, line them all up,
And then
all in a
we
row.
can meet again the week after that, pare down the 9 if we need to, and then go from there. So I think that gives us a good timeline. As far as standardized questions, most of my interviews I conduct, I do them as general conversations with similar questions, not exact. I think it's a more informal way, so you get to know the person better, and you can steer the conversations with what they're passionate about and how the conversation's going versus very do. That's how I normally conduct mine. Input's appreciated, I guess. So do we want to still meet next Wednesday and discuss the applicants, or do we want to just try to set them all up
Well,
for the interviews next week?
I think we need to discuss them first in
Okay.
executive session. Doreen?
Yeah, what I was going to say is I'm in agreement of interviewing all 9 and doing 30 minutes. I think, Darab, I hear what you're saying, and I'm just gonna throw out there, I think it would be beneficial for this committee to have, let's say, 5 or 6 questions to ask, and it's the same questions to every candidate. And we take that information, we're able to write down answers, so we know, if we all take notes, like what their answers were, whether they, were similar or different. And then after that, as Evan is suggesting, we go into executive session, whether it's right after the interviews, which we could maybe schedule 2 days of interviews because 9's a lot of people. And then after the second session of interviews, we could go into executive session and have a conversation right there, or put it off to yet another meeting. And Michael, I have a question for Evan. Do we have to limit it to 5 people for the assessment center? Is that the goal? Or,
Yeah, 5 is the max that we want to put through that process. Yeah.
okay, so I think, so I agree with what Bob has said and Darab has said. I feel like it's a little premature to cut down before interviewing everybody. What I don't want to see is us ending up with, let's say, 2 candidates in front of the select board. I'd really like to try to get 3. And so if we, start with 9, agree on the 5, we'll probably have 3 solid candidates to bring to the select board in the next probably month, right?
Do we want to do these, if I may?
Yes.
Certainly, Chief. Go ahead.
Do we want to do these interviews in person or on Zoom?
Oh, we
Because-
want Zoom. I mean,
we're doing them on Zoom. I don't know what the logistics are for getting somebody on that, because you don't want somebody else sitting in on the interview.
Yeah, so what we would do is we'd post it, we'd use the Zoom link as a meeting so that when they're in the waiting room, they're not part of the
Well,
meeting. They can't hear what's going on, and then we just pull them in. I have done that.
You're a guest, and then
And
they
it
can
worked.
come in.
Yeah, it's worked okay.
You can boot them at any time you want.
Yep, exactly.
I think we did that when we hired you, Evan.
I believe so too,
I
yeah.
think we did everything on Zoom and it worked
Yep.
okay.
so with Evan as the host, he controls the gateway anyway.
Right,
Yes.
right. Like the only observer we have is Rick Elaine, and I could just boot him at any time.
Don't do that. Hi,
I-
Rick.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
All right, so shall we post meetings for both the 15th and 16th?
Do we need to ask Bob Pomeroy is he going to be setting up the interviews, Evan, or are you going to set them up?
We'd do it in conjunction.
Okay.
So, because we'll be using the town's links.
So would it be helpful for us to come up with selected dates that would work for this committee and then you confirm them?
I think so. I think that would be the prudent way to go.
So does next Wednesday and Thursday work for everybody?
Yeah,
Yep.
Yep.
All right, can we go around and have a motion to approve that we meet both the 15th and 16th, starting at 7 PM both nights?
So
Everybody
moved.
good?
make a motion.
Second.
Okay, everybody in agreement?
Aye.
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 Okay, excellent. Question in the meantime, Evan,
Yes.
if, do you have any idea of the time frame involved for Pomeroy to set up the testing center?
So I had spoken to him, like I said, today. And so once we get our 5 candidates, you're probably looking at a couple of weeks from when we give him the 5, just to give people enough time. So do you want me to go into what the testing center looks like?
Before
Um,
that, I just
yeah,
want to
sorry.
recognize, I'm sorry, I just want to recognize that Rick has his hand raised. So I don't know if he has a question, if we want to pull him in or not. I'll leave that up to Evan and Lydia.
I think let's finish Evan talking to us about the testing center
Okay.
as best he can in an open session.
Yeah, so the testing center, there's really nothing that requires any secrecy for the testing center. Now, they're not going to give us all of their questions and all the stuff they're going to do, because they're going to keep that proprietary for their process for when they do the initial testing. But what it basically looks like is they're gonna come to Grafton. They're gonna set up in 2 of our conference rooms. One conference room is going to be where they do the oral examination, and one conference room is where they're going to be doing the written and the the essay version and the test, the regular question and answer test. So they're going to get to Grafton around 7:30 on that day that's selected. And they're going to be with the candidates till about 4 PM. And so what'll happen is I'm assuming I'm going to use conference rooms A and F and set the candidates up apart. They'll then do their full exercise and essays. They'll then use our server to print everything out. And then they'll be scored by the 3 panelists from BadgeQuest. And those 3 panelists will then turn that data over to us to be able to review that and figure out where we go next.
Will they give us a comparison sheet of the candidates? Is that
Yes,
just test results? They'll actually do like a report of comparing them and saying.
exactly. Yep. So that we can take a look and see, who scored what. And so the other piece is that you can come and observe. There's 2 caveats. One is you can't talk to the candidates, and 2, you can't talk to the assessors. Yes, exactly. And so, in talking to Mr. Pomeroy, one of the concerns that comes up is that, you don't want to alter the testing environment, right? So you don't want to come in and sit in for just one person and then leave, because is that fair to the one person? You also run into the open meeting law posting, as Lydia had pointed out at the beginning. So what generally happens, according to Bob, is that you either get someone that the committee votes to send on the committee's behalf to observe, or you let the process run its course and then just use the data rather than sit there and watch the people test. You can do it either way.
Would those sessions be filmed, Evan, that we could maybe, no, they're not.
Nope.
Okay.
No, it's really, the process is designed to get the candidates to really open up and answer as best that they can. So while they want it to be it's a test and it's an all-day thing, they also want, the candidates to feel comfortable in the room and actually get the answers that, to the questions that you want. So I haven't, Chief, you did a testing center with BadgeQuest?
Yes, and I've done others with other companies. I just went on a lieutenant's promotional for Northborough not too long ago. I don't recommend anybody from the committee sit in on this unless you're willing to sit there the whole time, because as Evan said, you give somebody an unfair advantage. Well, you sat for this one, you had to walk out of the room, you missed the other one. Now you've got to, I don't recommend that the committee members go to the assessment center. I know I won't be.
Okay. Did you find it to be, did they try to put you in a pressure situation when you've gone to them,
Yes,
or?
different questions. Actually, when I went, we had, I think there were like 8 or 9 people on the committee, the search committee back then. And they ask you questions, different scenarios. I did a written portion like they did, we just did here. And then finally, that was basically it, the assessment center, if you want to call it that. It wasn't done the way they did it with professionals. I mean, I had a colonel from the state police on mine. Another officer, there was a sergeant from Grafton actually, but it wasn't a full assessment per se. But, and I've done, like I said, I've done these interviews with other departments before. And it just, the thing is, they give you the scenarios. We did that when we promoted our lieutenant. When we got out of civil service, we had an assessment center. We used a different company, but it was the same thing. They went in there and they asked the questions. I actually gave them a scenario to use, and they asked the questions and looked for the particulars and all, and then they gave me the who they thought came out best. They didn't pick somebody. They just said, this is who we thought came out best. That was it.
Mhm.
Kind of in line.
And our testing center is a third party, right? It's not BadgeQuest. BadgeQuest is,
BadgeQuest puts it out.
Yep, that's who we're using for the.
they are the proctors of the test. The testing center is theirs. All that,
Yep.
it's all their information. Okay.
Yeah, and so what they do too is knowing the candidates that we've given them, they will then ensure that their proctors are people that do not know those candidates. I mean, in the fire service, it's kind of a small world, so they'll move people around to make that work. Again, to try to make it as unbiased as possible.
The assessors, though, are paid by BadgeQuest to do the assessments.
Will we know who the BadgeQuest personnel are after the fact?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions on the testing center? Okay,
Sorry, one last thing on the testing center. So we're gonna get these results. These results are based on those couple key traits that we identified, right? It's not a full personality profile.
Right.
correct.
Right, so they, what they call it, the K-SAPs or
Yeah,
whatever.
so those core
Essays.
curriculum pieces, okay.
Yep, plus the
But
ones. we-
through that, we will still get some indication of the personality profile to some degree.
Yeah,
not
well, we're,
full,
we're gonna get some personality traits when we interview the people, right? We're
Yeah.
gonna see how they react and how they present themselves. And then we'll go to the testing piece, take those top candidates, and then, you know, the board will have a lengthier interview process that they'll see, you know, that's when they're gonna start to look for deeper personality to come out in that interview.
We'll see what the fit is,
That's right.
basically.
Yep.
Okay,
Approach.
You can go one step further if you want to. We do it for all our police officers. You can also give them, I mean, that's up to Evan and the board. Once they make an offer, have the person get a psychological test. We do that with all, we have to do that with all our police officers since they're carrying guns, but if you want to truly see what their personnel traits are and whatnot, let me tell you, they're fairly accurate too, because, you know, I use them and you can tell what direction certain officers are going. So, I mean, that's up to, I don't want to.
Yeah, that'd be the board. The board could figure
Yeah.
that out if they
Yeah.
wanted to.
Maybe we
How much,
could,
is that a significant cost, chief, or,
$350.
oh, that's not bad.
yeah, it's worth it. Evan, maybe we could add that to the board workshop next week as something we can discuss.
Yeah, what their preferences, absolutely.
Right, right.
and would that be limited to the 5, I presume?
Well, you would really probably only do it for your final candidate.
Right.
So when the board,
Final two or something, right?
well, what generally happens in my experience is the board would make an offer to somebody and make their offer, you know, contingent upon psychological coming back if that's what they wanted to do. I think it's more, I think it's more common in the police world than in the fire service.
Should we
but that's
vote
just-
on that, so there's something to bring to the board that we decided that's a strong, good idea?
You,
We don't need to. I can just,
So you'll bring that up?
yeah, I'll communicate
Okay.
that. We'll put it on the agenda next week and I will say that was suggested by Chief Crapo and that, you know, the committee seems to agree that that would be a good approach.
Now, we don't, once we give the select board our finalists, whether it be 3 or 5 or whatever, we're basically done. The select board can call on us for comment, but other than that, our job is done, correct?
yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Just to completely assure no technical issues, as we've had in the past and came close to having tonight, can you give a second person host capabilities for the Zoom link, Evan? Perhaps Doreen, since she's the
Yep.
person you work the closest with?
Yeah, we'll just have Doreen also will have the login for the town's Zoom account.
Okay,
Does that work for you, Doreen?
That's fine. Yep.
okay.
And also, I just want to confirm, Evan, that you're going to speak to Badge Quest and confirm those dates and times for next week. Because if not, we're going to have to come up with alternative dates. And I
Correct.
didn't know if you wanted to do that tonight. So we have 2 sets of dates and we don't have to come back and deliberate on that next week and we just
That's-
move along.
That's a good idea, Doreen.
Yeah,
How's
And
the
then-
following Wednesday and Thursday look for people?
I think that works.
It doesn't work for me at all. I'll be away.
Look at the week after.
that would be what, 22nd, 23rd is when you're gone, Mike?
Yeah, I'll be gone from the 22nd, 23rd, 24th. Anything after that, I'm available.
Can you do the 20th and 21st?
I can do that.
I think we have a Doreen. I think we have a select board meeting on the 21st.
We do. But I mean, I guess it would depend on the time. So for example, if the 27th is or excuse me, the 20th is open for everybody, we could even do the 16th and the 20th if needed. So maybe we could just add the
Okay.
20th in.
Yep. And then I can float those and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, and if I mean, I don't know if you could skip a board meeting, Evan, maybe, but
Why
I
not?
I
know.
certainly, I
I'm
certainly
pretty-
could do interviews. This is really important and there's
Yeah.
4 other board members. So if
Right.
that's what works, then I'll be there on the 21st.
I don't know. I'd be scared to leave them alone.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I'll just leave the 20th. I won't add the 21st for now.
Yeah, we'll stick with that. And if not, I can always,
You could tell them they can meet the 24th instead.
Mm.
See how
Alright.
that goes over you.
Just so I get this straight, we're not doing the 15th and 16th. What about doing the 20th and the 22nd? Do you
I'll
want to
be
do a whole week in between interviews?
Are you-
I'll be away from the 22nd to the
Oh,
24th.
Oh, you're leaving the 22nd.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah, all right.
So I'll just leave those 3 dates on for the notes for now, the 15th, 16th, and the 20th.
Okay,
They've got to work. I mean,
I don't see why the 15th and 16th don't work, to be honest.
Oh,
I'm presuming that we should probably start our meeting on the 15th with Mr. Pomeroy in case there are more questions.
yeah, well, he'll be there for all the interviews. Yeah. So,
Okay,
yep.
all
And do we-
right.
do we want to call on the one attendee we have who has his hand raised
Oh, yeah.
for the whole meeting?
Okay, Rick, wherever you are.
Okay. I'm allowing Rick to talk. He's muted. He's unmuted.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hi,
We
Rick.
can.
So I just want to give you, the committee, a little heads up of something I heard over the weekend. That there are people that know names of candidates. 2 names were already given to me by someone and I stopped them there. I said, I don't want to know any more than that. I don't care if it's true or not, but that's very, very dangerous.
Mhm.
Because these candidates may not have told their employee that they're searching for these jobs. And I would think that, Evan, the Zoom meeting that you will have with interviews will not be an open Zoom meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. Yep. Absolutely not.
If it's coming from the committee, that's very, very dangerous. If they're hearing it, however they're hearing it, or if they're saying false names that they think they know, I don't
Yep.
know. All I know is the person that told me 2 names, and then I said, I don't want to hear anymore. Don't tell me
Yeah.
anymore. I says, because no one's supposed to know that. That was done in executive session.
Yeah.
So I just want to give you, the committee, a heads up on that there are people in the fire service in Grafton that say they know names of candidates.
Okay. Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
Okay,
So just remind everyone, that can be coming from the candidates themselves. It can be speculation, but make sure that we on the committee are keeping our lips sealed, so to speak.
correct. I do have one new piece of business. I had a conversation today with an assistant attorney general about open meeting law.
Mhm.
And I got some pretty good information from her that I would like to share with you after the meeting. I can email it since it comes off their website. It's nothing secret mumbo jumbo, but I
Right.
think it's all very informative. And in that regard, I also want to make a section 268A23 disclosure in that on August 28th, Darab came to my house for coffee because I had some training materials to give to him. It was not any kind of a deliberation under the open meeting law, but we had a very nice visit because it turns out I know his mother and uncle, and I went to college with his aunt.
There you go.
So,
Right?
there you go.
I don't think it's an actual violation of open meeting law because there's no quorum present. So I think you're fine.
Well, but
Um,
it's considered to be an appearance under the conflict law, more
Yeah.
than open meeting law.
Okay,
So,
so I'm just insulted that I wasn't there for coffee, so,
Same.
yeah,
Do you
but
like psychology, Evan?
Do I like what?
Psychology?
Psychology?
Yeah, I can share the psych reports with you after.
Okay,
Come over for coffee.
there you go.
we were discussing what actually several of us have discussed before, and what has come up in some of the resumes in discussing critical incident stress management. And I think the fact that we're coming up on a fairly significant anniversary in a couple of days, the fire service is all plugged into that. And I'm not sure that after 19 years of being part of the stress team, I'm feeling a little anxious about watching some of this 9/11 stuff again, because it's so powerful.
Hmm.
So take your news when and where you can.
Absolutely.
All right, do we have any other business? Bob, do you have anything going on down at Station 3 that we need to know about?
I've retired. I'm bumped off. I'm 65.
Happy birthday, Bob.
Thanks.
Is your birthday today?
Now, end of July.
Oh, okay. Well, congratulations / happy birthday.
Congratulations.
If we'd known, we would have saved you a donut.
I got to move out of state to where I can still be on the fire service.
There you go.
You actively looking?
Yeah, summer house in Rhode Island, probably.
I'll come visit, don't worry.
Nice.
Well, the good news is that the Connecticut Fire Academy down at Windsor Locks is posting for instructors. You can go hang out with them.
It's closer to New Jersey.
Well, there is, yeah, New Jersey.
I'm a life member down there in New Jersey. I can always go back there.
There you go. Well, the good thing about Windsor Locks is they do a lot of weather disaster scenario training, full function. I sat through a hurricane exercise down there once, and it was mind-boggling. Okay, so folks, do we have any other business to attend to?
No, I'll talk to Mr. Pomeroy tomorrow and I can push something out to the group about those dates, and we can go from there. That way there you'll have interviewed and you'll have all the documentation, and then when we deliberate on how to pare them down, you have everything at your
Okay,
disposal.
Can I make one other suggestion too? I don't know if this works for the committee, but since we're interviewing 9, probably over the course of 2 days, 30 minutes each, can we bump our meeting time earlier than 7 p.m.?
Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, okay, like even to 6, I just, might get a little painful on the later side, so, okay.
it's only painful for old people, Doreen, so.
Well, I'm creeping up there, Lydia.
Oh, no. Wrong again. All right, so we will post both the meetings for the 15th and 16th, starting at 6 p.m., Evan?
Let's talk to Bob and make sure that they're available times
Okay,
and that the candidates are available, and then we'll post it. Yep.
okay,
We'll have to post it by Monday. So
okay. Anything else anybody wants to put on the agenda for the 15th?
Executive session, just to
I'll-
remind.
I'll make sure that Joanne has that, because Joanne's the one that's been posting them. So I'll make sure she's in the loop and just always includes it for the purposes of interviewing candidates and reviewing resumes.
Okay, okay. And will you also be able to get from Mr. Pomeroy before next week's meeting, possible dates for the testing center?
Yes, in theory. So as long as we hold to our timeline, I think that's probably
how long
good.
do you think they need to prep to get that over here and set it up and stuff?
No, I don't think it's on them. I think it's giving the candidates enough time to take a whole day off and do their thing, right? So you want
Yeah.
to make sure you give them enough of a courtesy heads up. That's why I was thinking I would predict it'd be 2 weeks, because I know when I did the process and had to go through a testing center for town administrator, they gave me a 2-week notice.
I assume that, I assume you probably need the 2 weeks to reserve the rooms, probably, right?
Now,
They're not that.
municipal center, I just kick everybody out. Fine.
Fair enough.
So,
Okay. If we don't have any further business, I'd be happy to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
second.
Second, everybody in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it is 7:40 and we are officially done for tonight.